Welcome to another reading and correcting of Shattered Salvation with me, Kendar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger's supervisor. Today we are doing Chapter 9. Where was he? It didn't look like a prison. White walls, all the devices. Some looked Valerian, quite identified them. Then there were the people around him, looking at the device, not at him. Where am I? What happened to it? Why could he barely hear? No one answered him. But to look them in the eyes, get them to acknowledge, to at least acknowledge he was there, to look away. Sham's here. Where was he? At least in prison, people looked him in the eye. They spoke to him, respected him enough. This kind of behavior, something, some time. So tired. How wasn't it? Wasn't the bone weariness that had been his constant companion for the last how long now? For a long time now. No, strangely enough, his body felt fine. It was his mind, like it would, like it would feel after spending days on a problem, finding the solution, and then having to pay for all that work. One of the people, a doctor, waved a wand over him, and as her eyes moved up, following it, she's faced. This one knew him. What? She couldn't stand looking at it. He realized the door had opened halfway to his. He realized that the door had opened when a group of people were halfway to three humans, and an alien. One of the men was from the military, recognized the uniform. He even thought he'd seen the other man, dressed in, but the way he moved screamed danger. Unlike him, that man was. No matter how often he'd had to resist, Valerian had never gotten used. The doctors fussed the devices as their sound became more strident. Then the fear he'd felt melted. He knew that man was bring himself. The woman was. She was beautiful. There was no denying that. But there was something more. She was familiar, certain of it. But who was she? He studied her face as trying to place her. He wished his mind wasn't so. He was normally much faster at no problem as simple as who. She looked him in his. She looked him in the eyes. His surprise derailed his thought. She had kind eyes. She addressed one of the doctors. How could she look at him like that after? She knew him, that, but there was no revulsion in her eyes. Voice. Was she? She still spoke with the doctor. Valerian focused on the conversation, tried to make the words mean something. Body is fine, the doctor said. Yes, he understood. The doctor spoke in a detached tone, clinical, the voice of emotion. We cleaned out the toxin he'd accumulated over his incarceration, repaired the damage to his internal organs, and the rejuvenation. His mind, on the other hand, will be slower to heal. I can bring in a specialist and have it rebuilt, but my understanding is that you need his memory intact. She looked down at him, loving eyes, and said, Father, can you understand me? He said, his voice very beautiful. Killer. Grandfather, it's me. My name isn't. It's Clarion. He'd almost forgotten once that hole that had been his. The people there had never called him by his name, only the killer. He had never set out to be. The healer is what he'd wanted to be. There was only that young man who called him by his name, called him more. Had been nice, sitting by his side and talking with him on a nail. Like he talked for hours, days sometimes. Been such a good listener. Martin, that was his name. Was he here too? She took his hand. Her skin was soft, softer than any of the women in the. He'd never set out to have a relationship. Man, and they'd been happy to help him take care of those, of course, afterward. And that lead felt wetness. She was holding it to her, crying. Crying? Grandfather. Me, Dahlia. Ollie? Familiar. Who was that? The laughter came. A memory of sitting in a room filled with animals. No, plush, animal, a girl in his lap. Child. She clapped and laughed. Tell me another story, grandfather. He looked at her. Yeah? Her face lit up. Yes, it's me. I missed you so. He wrenched his hand out of her. You're too old. Tried to move away from her, but the bed restrained him. Who were they? What were they doing to him? His memories. The doctor had said something about his memories. Had to get out of here. Valerian? Voice was deep, calm, the other side of the bed. He turned to it, expecting a doctor. Instead, he looked into brown eyes. He saw the muzzle, ears, deep brown fur with small white dots in it. The eyes were so kind and Valerian thought he had a smile. Alien. We're friends, the alien said. You're safe here. The voice had a light rumble to it. It wasn't a purr, but it still reminded him of the given him when brilliant. She's your responsibility. You need. She's fed, that she has water to drink and to clean her litter box. He'd been angry at first. He hadn't wanted something to take care of. Why couldn't her mother have gotten her a model that took care of all that by itself? It was what all his friends had. The cat had ambled. He'd watched in horror as it climbed on his lap, its small claws catching the fabric. It had looked up at him before curling up, and his anger had melted. None of his friends' cats did that. What had happened? He'd loved that. He was still looking in the alien's eyes, who he expected anger at being ignored. Alien felt they didn't matter and didn't like being treated that way. But this alien still. Valerian, are you back with us? Valerian smiled. Had to remind Alien. Of course. Are we? Which prison is this? Alien wanted to believe. Badly. But a man like him didn't deserve freedom, no matter how much he'd fought to keep. Tried to look away, but the gaze held. Of course it's a, but it's a very nice one. Grandfather, please, the wind pleaded, taking his hand again. This is our ship. A prison ship? He'd heard of them, but never thought he'd be one. Those only had the worst of the worst. Did here then. Her hand trembled as it. She opened her mouth, but the alien shook his head. The alien wasn't. He'd never heard of them running anything, especially not something as important. He wasn't a speciesist, but he'd never thought aliens were quite intelligent enough to be. Don't worry, Valerian, the alien said in a pleasant voice. Dahlia is coming. For a moment he smiled. He'd see his granddaughter again. Then, no, she couldn't be in a prison. Only people like him deserve to be. Someone is innocent. Her. He tried to get up, but a hand held him. Valerian, calm down. No! Fought against the hand. He had to get up. He had to find her, to protect her, to get her out of here. He wouldn't let them hurt her. Beeping, strident sound. Doctors moving around. They tried to come close to him, but the alien pushed them away. The doctors argued, but the woman spoke sharply and they silent. He couldn't make out the word. His need to get to her was too great. The alien was holding him down with a hand, and as hard as he fought, it wouldn't move. A tone reached him finally, calming word, safe. Alien talking to what? Your friends, Valerian. Calm down. You're safe. She's safe. Liar! The rage in his voice surprised him. He never got angry before. How had they found her? How could his son let her be taken? Physical exhaustion took him and he stopped fighting. Looked at this alien, calling, please don't hurt her. She's just a child. She has nothing to do with this. Valerian, still in that calm, going to hurt her or you. Just not Hasted. Hasted. Of course, this was about men. If I tell you, you have to promise me that you won't hurt her. Not even bring her here. I don't want Dahlia to see me like this. The woman said, have my word, the alien said. And Valerian believed. He didn't know why, but he trusted. He sighed. Everyone. The trial hadn't been broadcasted, but something like that, something like what he'd done, couldn't be hidden. Everyone had learned. But he had never admitted it. Even in prison, where there was no point in denying it, he wouldn't admit it. At least, he didn't think he had. Those last week were fuzzy, with only Martin. Closed his eyes. I killed them, each. I need more. Walter, his tone didn't insist. There's more. Valerian nodded. There was a group, researcher, scientist. He told the story before, and others. They had Dahlia. Telling it to them meant they wouldn't have to question. They were possibly the brightest mind of their time. They'd gotten together. They wanted to. They were going to create a virus, save everyone, make them healthy. But no matter where they were, we were going to save everyone. Voice felt wrong. Before he needed to ask for it, he took a sip and sighed. How good. They succeeded, or they thought they had, but they miscalculated. There was something wrong with the virus. It would heal at first, but over time, the virus would unravel the DNA. By the time this happened, the entire universe would be infected. Made the virus extremely confusing. They didn't want ISGov or any of the take control of it. To control who would and wouldn't. Wanted everyone to benefit from it. They called it. He closed his eyes and tears fell again. He hadn't cried about that time so long. I tried to tell them about it, but they wouldn't listen. Their dreams were about to come true. No one in the universe would ever have to suffer again. They couldn't imagine that they had been a mistake. I couldn't even get them to delay the release. Had to be, and it had to be total. If even one of them survived, they could recreate the virus. I locked down. I dabbled. A hobby, something to distract me from break. I locked it down. Her hand tightened on. What happened to the virus? It's destroyed. I was even thought. Sure? Of course. I didn't leave any of it for the people like you to use. I don't care how. If you release it, everyone will die. How about your research? The alien asked, still in a calm voice. Unlike the woman, he made no demands of her. No way they could find it. He hid it too well. It's gone. Now the alien. Valerian, need to know. Your grandson. The woman looked at the aliens. Baran? No, it can't be. He's just a child. He can't be going to. No, you're trying to trick me. Grandfather, please. Your help. Something horrible happened to Baran. His family was murdered. They left him to die, but he survived. His mind broke. He said the solution was your research. Please, I need to stop him before he does something he'll regret. Hey, Baran? He'd been 8 years old the last time he'd seen him. He hadn't been able to keep away. He'd had to come home and see them again. It didn't matter. The law was after him. Came crashing down on him. He heard beeping as her bounty on chase. Sold to deep down the other horrible things he'd had to do to survive, to make sure the peace was kept a decade. This time, grandfather? Mother, she embraced him. Grandfather, I missed you so much. Talia, what happened to She wiped her tears. Vacation with his family. Busy running. Dad died. Dead? Last? Mouth, but it's the alien who's Valerian. Shock. Your loss. Baran. Talia afterward. Who are you? Valerian. And who are you? Valerian's tone was sharp. How dare this meddle in his family's. My name is Tristan. My partner, Crimson. Granddaughter hired us to stop Baran. Can virus you. It doesn't exist anymore. It came the words came easily, and so many years repeating it, convincing himself it was true because he'd known. He'd known a day like today would come, and it was vital he sounded certain about it. Sure, Ian's voice was soft, but Baran must have a reason to think there's something worth going after. He looked at them. Baran managed to get into her office. Why did she sound like she shouldn't have been? He'd never minded there. The moment they could crawl, so they brought them. You were caught. The law came looking for evidence of what you'd done. Dad locked your office, get him to open it, but reminded them that we are a sovereign people. There were other attempts, broke into the abortionists tried to get into this, but we stopped them. Sadly, Baran was get in. Get 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 in. Until he got married, try something. Bypass the lock Dad had put on it. After they were murdered, he became obsessed with getting in. He took everything that was there, spent months going over it. Gone. Valerian tried to remember anything. Fact. He had kept a lot of things. Working with his family. Why don't you use that? What's there to find him? He took everything. Got on his yacht and flew off. I tried to get him to come back, but he won't listen to me. He isn't even answering my messages. Something about things related to Hasted. If I'm going to have a chance to stop him, bring him back home, I need to. Variant. He couldn't have been stupid enough. Anything relating to salvation here. But it had been so. What if he had? He couldn't let his grand death of everyone again talk. And as he did, memories flooding back. Conclude chapter of Shattered Salvation. If you are enjoying this, please like. Next chapter will be up. Subscribe and hit. If you want to read the story as well as the others in the series, they are available on all major e-retailer. Want to support me? That's on my Patreon. Also get access to basically everything written. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.